Designing a system to support millions of users sounds overwhelming, but here's the secret. Every complex system started simple. In this video, we are not going to jump straight into millions of users. Instead, we are going to build a system just for one user and grow it step by step. Why? Because starting small lets us understand the core concepts without getting lost in complexity. Once you understand the basics, scaling becomes a lot easier to reason about. Let's start building. The very first step in designing a system is to design a single server setup. When you're starting out, you have small user base, you have early stage product. All you need is one single server, and that server will handle everything. It will take care of your application on it, it will host your database, and it will have your cache as well. You don't need 10 different services in the beginning. Just one server is enough to handle all the components of your application which are required. So the second step is how will a single server handles user data request. So when a user, by either using a web browser or mobile application, is trying to access some server, for example, a user is trying to access youtube.com, then the user do need IP address of youtube.com so that it can send a request to the server of youtube.com and then get the response back. But when we type in youtube.com or google.com, we don't know the IP address. We only know the human readable domain name. Then comes in the picture DNS server. So the DNS server is like a phone book directory. It translates all the domain names into their corresponding IP addresses. So when a user sends a request that this is what I am trying to access, any domain abc.com, then the DNS will check its corresponding directory and find the exact IP address and return it to the user. So this is the IP address. So now a user have the IP address. Now it can talk to the server at that specific IP address. So then comes our single server architecture. So now a user knows the IP address of this particular server, and then the user can send an HTTP request to this server. And this server is the one which hosts our application, database, cache, and any other component that are required to run an application are on this single server. So this server then understand the request and then send the response back in either HTML page or JSON data format or whatever is whatever the request come from. So the server sends a response back to the user who had tried to access that particular server from web browser or mobile application. So this is how a request is handled. This is the basic architecture of how a request is handled in a single server architecture.